Rachel Tessman from stampyourartout.com, and today I'd like to share with you my outside the box ideas that I created with the Pick of the Crop June 2022 Paper Pumpkin Kit from Stampin' Up! These kits are automatically delivered to me each month and contain everything that I need to make fun, creative paper crafting cards and projects. This June kit contains supplies for making 9 cards, 3 of 3 different designs. Each kit includes a publication like this one with directions, full color illustrations, details about the kit, and a link to access a how-to video so that you can assemble the cards or projects as shown. The kits also include inks and stamps that can be used again and again, even after the consumables are used up. This June kit included a Calypso Coral ink pad and this exclusive stamp set. The kits are a Stampin' Up! Product, so the colors, images, and supplies always coordinate with many other Stampin' Up! Products. I'll be using some of these in the alternate projects I create for you today. You can find the items I used listed below and linked to my online store. You can also find links for learning more about paper pumpkin kits, starting your subscription through me so I can spoil you with exclusive ideas, gifts, and prizes, joining my Paper Pumpkin fan club on Facebook where you can see even more alternate project ideas shared daily, and if you're watching my video on YouTube, a link to my website where I've shared photos of the projects you're going to see today. I received a large clear block in my first paper pumpkin kit to use with all my future stamps. That tool and my scissors are all that I'll need for completing my kits as is. But you'll notice that I substitute that block for the ergonomic Stampin' Up! Blocks. I also use the larger version of the ink pad and some additional adhesives such as my Stamp and Seal. You won't need these, but they're available products from Stampin' Up! And they're easier and quicker for me to use while I demonstrate in my video. By the way, if you're looking for past ideas, visit my website at stampyourartout.com. Click on Paper Pumpkin in the top menu, then choose Recent or Older Posts. I've been creating and sharing alternates with paper pumpkin kits since March of 2013 when they first began. I'm excited to create, so let's get started. These are the cards that you make if you make the cards as is. They look like this. There's 3 of 3 different kinds. You also get a bag in this kit. So fun. I'm going to take the pieces for this card here and I'm going to change them up a bit. So I'm going to keep this one. I'm going to eliminate these 2 and I'm going to bring in, let's see here. I'm going to bring in that little green tag and some of the twine. I'm going to keep the twine. We're going to take and cut the base a little bit in a weird way. We're going to cut it so that we're slicing from this edge into the middle. We're going to cut from here to here. Now I've already done that on one of my pieces here because I wanted to test it out to make sure it would work. So I sliced from here to here, keeping the trays for the fruit in the bottom half. Next I'm going to stamp. I'm going to use 3 sentiments in here. Love you a whole bunch. You're the sweetest and you're the pick of the crop. So I'm peeling them off, flipping them upside down so that the flat side is up. And then I'm going to connect them to the blocks. I'm doing it this way because I think when you have a longer stamp like this, it can bend when you place it on the block. And I didn't want my stamp to be curvy, so I'm going to go ahead and lift it up like that in the relaxed position. I'm now going to stamp in 3 different places. So I'm opening up my ink pad, and this tag here is going to be positioned with the hole on the left, and that's the one that's going to be stamped with the words, "You're the sweetest." Because the stamps are clear, they're photopolymer, you can see right through them. And I'm going to go a little bit off to the right because I know I'm going to add some twine in here and tie it, and I don't want the bulk of the bow to be in the way of the words. Then we're going to close the top half of this card and we're going to stamp "You're the pick of the crop" on this left side. Actually, let's stamp with this one first. And the reason why I'm doing that is because this one's taller. And so if I know how tall this one is and I'm aiming the words to be parallel with the top and bottom edge of the card, not the block edges. That's why I like to mount my stamps kind of at an angle here. So I've stamped "Love you a whole bunch," and "You're the pick of the crop" now can be centered because of that stamp on the right. And now they look like they're much more in line than if I were to put this one towards the top. Then this one would look like it was hanging down too much. Okay, so this is the Night of Navy ink. It does not come with the kit, but I do think it's going to go well with the card that I'm making. I just want the words to stand out a bit more. Now we're going to tie some twine onto our tags. We're just going to add some right in like this, about 6 inches, maybe 8 inches. I decided to tie a knot first and then the bow because my bow would be positioned in a different way if I did it that way. So, and now my bow is going up and down rather than side to side. This top half of the card is going to be sealed down. Now, if I were to use the adhesive dots in the kit, it would take me a while to peel all of these off. So that's why I prefer to have some extra adhesive. This tape runner adhesive is called Seal Adhesive. And we're just going to make sure that's lined up. And we're going to press it down. Now we could leave the card to open like this. That's totally fine. Or, because I wanted this to actually look like it still has fruit on it when you open it up, we're going to add that top piece. And we're not going to do it with dimensionals like the kit instructions ask. We're just going to add it straight on. Because I know it's going to adhere to the fruit areas only, I'm being careful not to get it in the baskets. And in fact, in this spot here, you totally could put a glue dot. So let's go ahead and add a glue dot right in the crevice. And there we go. Now, the last couple things are to add this. And we're going to add that with the dimensionals that come in the kit. A couple on the back side. And I'm going to bring in an embellishment that is not from the kit, but one that I think would accent this kit really well. So let's just add that as if it's tied on to the fruit crate here. These are called Funflower Resin Shapes, and they come in some beautiful colors that most of them work well with the kit. This color here works really well with the strawberries. You've got the yellow, you've got purples, blues. The green isn't exactly the same, but it works pretty well. So now I'm going to come over here. I'm going to use my Take Your Pick tool, the gummy end, to push and grab one of those flowers. We'll use a small little red one or orangish one, and we'll use a larger yellow one. And that just gives it a little bit of bling when you open it up. Kind of brings some color over to the other side. And there is one of my alternate cards. I hope you like that one. I have another one. Let's grab this card base here. It's the blue one with the little picnic table cloth in the middle. So what I did is I took my trimmer and I cut the two pieces in half. And I lined it up so that I saw in the channel of my trimmer, I saw the middle section, plus you can look over here to make sure that it's lined up with the 4 1/4 inch mark, and I sliced. Then after I had that done, I took and did the same thing, where I lined this edge up with the channel of my trimmer, and I sliced. I did it this direction first, then this direction to get 2 long pieces that look like this, 2 long triangle blue pieces. And then I turned it the other way and cut these sections off. So I'm going to show you what I ended up with. So you can see again, first I cut these 2 pieces away, and then I cut these 2 pieces away so that I could separate the little picnic cloth from the rest. Now I'm going to bring in the Night of Navy cardstock. So that's the same color and it coordinates with the ink that we're using. I'm going to slice it down the middle in this direction. This is 8 1/2, so I'm cutting at 4 1/4 inches. And then I'm going to take one of these pieces and I'm going to score it in half the other direction. This is 11 inches, so we're going to go to the 5 1/2 inch mark. Use our light blade or our scoring blade. I've marked mine with a Sharpie marker. That helps me remember that this is the one that scores and this is the one that cuts. Fold it in half, and now we have a card base. If you're going to do alternates with paper pumpkin kits, it's wise to invest in some base cardstock, extra envelopes, a trimmer, some extra tools like the Take Your Pick tool, paper snips, bone folder, which I'm going to grab right now. And like I said earlier, some of those extra blocks. Now the inks, adhesives, you could invest in extra of those, but over time you're going to build up your ink spots, the little mini ink pads. And so if you're fine with working with smaller ink pads than these, then you'll have plenty of inks over time. So I'm just pressing that down, giving it a good crease. I'm checking the bottom of my card because I like to make sure that if there's any overlap, and this one does not have it. Wow, that was kind of perfect. If there's any overlap, you want the overlapping section to be in towards the back so that you see the overlap in the back, but you don't see it from the front. So we're going to grab our 2 berry images from the stamp set. I love this stamp set, by the way. I love the hello. I love all the words. The words are kind of that all occasion type of stuff. Thinking of you is perfect for any kind of card. It's always good to have a thinking of you stamp. And we're going to go ahead and stamp the background of this card. You'll notice that I stamped randomly with the strawberry stamp a couple times, and then I came in to fill in with the blueberry along the way. This just helped me to kind of space things a little bit more evenly if I kind of went back and forth. And then I also filled out the outside and went to the inside after I realized how much more space I'd need to fill from the center. Okay, so now I'm laying this piece over here, and I think that's where I'm going to put it. I'm going to pop it up with dimensional so it has a bit of shadow underneath. I'm placing 1 dimensional in each corner. That way when I mail this card off, if I place any dimensionals here in the center part of my card, those will not compete with these here, and it will lie a little bit flatter. Now you can certainly angle this. I'm choosing to have it straight up and down. You'll also see maybe a little bit of edge from the card sections that I cut off. You can either trim that, or because we're putting this against the Night of Navy cardstock, it kind of blends in. A couple other pieces that I'm using from the kit are these 2 sentiment pieces here, the vellum and then the white part, and then I've got the strawberry blueberry bundle. We're going to stamp onto this piece with the Thinking of You sentiment. Adhere this to the vellum. And then we're going to put adhesive down towards the base part, down on this lower half here. Position our strawberry blueberry kind of in the middle and have this stick out from the top of them. This I'm going to pop up on dimensionals. I always say pop up. I'm going to put dimensionals behind it and it's going to make it pop up. Put that right there. We obviously need to be able to write on the inside of our card, so I'm going to cut an extra basic white piece of cardstock, 4 inches in this direction, 5 1/4 inches in this direction. We're going to adhere that, and actually you probably want to stamp first. I did not, I forgot. We're going to put this on the inside of the card. We're going to grab our inks again. Might as well fancy it up on the inside. And we'll add a little strawberry. You could add a blueberry too, I suppose. One more thing. Let's just add a little flower or 2 right here. There we go. Balance it out a bit. And there is our second card. Yay! It's so fun to make alternates. It builds your creativity, by the way. So if you're copying cards from other people, keep doing that. Eventually you're gonna be creating your own without anyone's help. It really does build creativity. All right, let's do another card. This time we're gonna take that basic white piece that we had left over, and I think we're gonna cut. Yeah, let's make it this direction. So we're going to cut to 4 1/4 now. So we're cutting a 1/4 inch strip off. So remember our other one was 4 inches wide. So now we've got half of a sheet of 8.5 by 11 cardstock. We're going to score it at 5 1/2 inches. This is our basic white thick, by the way. It's great for card bases, But if you had to pick one or the other, I would say go with the thick, because you could definitely use it for layers as well. We're going to bring in this card base now, the one that looks like this, and we're going to trim off the pink side. So what we end up with is this here. Now, you can go ahead and just leave it as is and mount it to the front of your card, but I'm thinking it's going to look pretty elegant to have a white layer around it. So I'm going to trim 1/4 inch off the two sides. So I'm going to trim 1/4 inch off this way and 1/4 inch off from, I think we're going to pick the bottom here. So it's going to end up being 4 inches by 5 1/4. The foliage looks a little bit more equal now too, since I cut it off from this side. So that's going to get mounted onto the front of our card. And I did that because I want to use the pink layer for something else later on. So let's bring in this fun cart full of flowers. When you get it, these pieces stay in here pretty well. So if you wanted to leave them in, you certainly could. I'm going to go ahead and pull all of mine out. So as you can see, I've got all the pieces for this card down in front of me. I've got the label piece, the baguette, the cart, and I just added that basic white cardstock in here. Something that bugs me about this image is that I feel like the wheels are too squatty. So I'm going to trim. I'm going to go ahead and line this up, and I'm going to trim the wheel section off. So I got my fingernails painted recently, which I haven't done in a long, long time. You'll notice I have my fingernails painted in all of my past videos, most of my past videos, not the recent ones. But we went on vacation, and so that's why this video, for those of you that try to catch my video each month, that's why it's a little bit delayed. We have been on a road trip, a family road trip, and so I did not have my kit with me. Obviously, we left on the 11th when the kit's processed and started shipping, and we got home on the 23rd. So that's the day I usually try to have my video ready. So this little strip here now can go between the two, and I can tuck the wheels up and under, and I can have a taller looking cart. And believe it or not, that works. We would trim off these little tabs here. It works because we have some room on our card to do so. So we can stretch it out a little bit like that and make it a taller looking cart, which to me looks more realistic. I don't know why, I just feel like it's too squatty. I love the tiny little baguette that's lying across the counter like that. So I'm going to keep that in there, but we're going to alter another thing here. And this idea is one that I've been seeing lots of people doing. If you follow the Paper Pumpkin fan club on Facebook, you'll see this idea being shared. Karen Andrusik, my friend Karen, I actually saw her post and I'm like, good idea, Karen. So I'm cutting off this top portion, and I'm cutting just maybe a 1/16 of an inch away from the line. And then when I get to this part here, I'm kind of cutting close and then further away. All right, so now we have this piece here, which we can prop out with dimensionals to make it have some lift to it, make it look more realistic. And then what we do is we just tuck that in under a little bit more to hide that cut edge that you see. Before we work on this card though, I'm going to bring in some white cardstock again, and we're going to move to another card. And actually I take that back. I've already got my pieces pretty much prepared for this. This is going to be my card base. So this was cut earlier. So this is my other half. We're going to score it at 5.5 inches. Fold that in half, crease it with the bone folder. And this is going to be our inside layer. It's already cut to 4 inches wide. We're going to go to 5.25 inches. And that's for the inside of our card. Remember the card that we cut down this one here, and we had that extra blue half over here. So what we're going to do with that blue half is we're going to cut it into 3 pieces. Oops, I meant 4 pieces. I forgot that I cut this one in half already. So this main piece, you're going to cut from this section here first. Once you've cut going across this way, then you're going to cut going across this way. So you're going to take and cut down to 4.5 inches. You're going to slice off at 4.5 inches. So you're slicing off 1 inch from the bottom. And then this piece here is going to be 3.25 inches, leaving you another inch over on the other side. That piece is now 4.5 by 1 inch, and you're going to cut that in half, which would make each of these pieces 2.25 inches. So 2.25 by 1, 2.25 by 1, 1 by 4.25, and 3.25 by 4.5. We're going to flip this piece over. We're probably not going to use the whole thing, but we're going to trade it with the last card that we had. We're going to use this piece somewhere else, and I'm just going to place that over there. But let's keep moving with this card because we started it. Here's the piece that goes on the inside. This piece is going to go on the front, and we've got the longer blue diagonal pieces, and these will move out of the way here. And we've got another white piece that you could either cut from your white cardstock that you're making your base pieces from, or this is the pink piece that I cut from this card. So it measures, I should say, 3 inches by 4.25. Because I want this this white to show along the edges here, I'm actually going to trim just a tiny little spot off of the end of each of these, and we're going to trim it from the shortest end. Trimming off 1/16 of an inch. We'll see if that works. I think that'll work. Yes, and now we just have a little bit of white around the outside edges. So those are going to be placed there. We're going to bring in this fun sprig of flowers, and we're going to tuck that in like that. And this is the layout that I'm going to use for this card. I'm going to keep it this way, but I'm not going to adhere anything. I'm bringing in some tape, and I'm going to do a technique called masking. So masking is basically covering up areas that you don't want to have inked up or showing. So we're covering up those letters that are at the bottom of the Love You stamp image. Now I didn't get them all, so I'm going to carefully ink up the Love You, and I'm going to try to omit inking up the rest of it. So I'm just laying it on like that. You can see that some of the tape picked up the ink, so we're going to peel that all away, and keeping this all lined up, we're going to stamp the Love You right in this spot. Actually, I think I'm going to go right towards the middle more. There we go. Very fun, very cute. Okay, and now we can go ahead and adhere everything. Now the reason why I didn't adhere it is because I always had the option to flip this over and use the pink side, just in case I screwed up. I could have pink and purple on the card. And you can certainly use the pink side if you want, because it's light enough. So I'm going to go ahead and add some adhesive. I think with these two, I'm going to flip them over and put adhesive on at the same time. That way I can get into this tiny little corner down here. Okay, then before I stick this all the way down, I want to tuck this in here. So I'm going to add some adhesive down here and tuck that in. In fact, we can probably tuck it in closer to the Love You part. And that'll go onto this piece. I think I'm going to do that with dimensionals. So 1 in each corner. Dimensionals are fun. You'll want to hang on to those and use them often. That'll get positioned here. And then we'll adhere this whole thing to the card base. You could do the same thing that we did with the strawberries and blueberries on the last card. We do have a stamp that has this look here, the branch look. So you could do that all over the background if you want to. I wanted mine to be plainer this time. So for this piece, we're going to mask, test your stamp too, because even if you clean it off, sometimes the ink doesn't completely remove. So you want to stamp it down a few times. And now we're going to cover up the love you portion of the stamp. And there is a third card. All right, let's bring this one back in. So remember, I took this piece out because I want to use it somewhere else. I know I have more in the kit, but you'll see what I'm doing as we move further on. So let's start assembling this cart. And we're going to cut this so that we've got 5/8 of an inch on one side and we're trimming off 3/8 of an inch on the other side. And on this piece here, I'm actually going to use my bone folder to kind of bring the top of the awning away from the bottom part a bit. And we're going to put adhesive along here. I think I'm going to use glue dots for that because I want a narrow bit of adhesive. You could also use like liquid glue if you wanted, but I just want the adhesive to be up towards the top. I don't want a wide strip of it like this. And because my wheels were cut off and they kind of are wobbly, I wanted to make sure that they were straight. So I used something with a square corner to line up those wheels. Okay, and this piece is going to separate them. So we're just going to lie that right there. We're going to tuck this right down in here. And again, let's check to make sure it's square. That looks pretty good. And then our awning is going to get some dimensionals. And if you want to, you can cut your dimensionals in half to make them a little narrower. So we're just going to add that back in and bring it down a bit. Like that. So you can still see the cart, and even if you tip it kind of angled like that, you don't see the flaw because we overlapped it a bit. This is going to get stamped with our sentiment, but first let's make sure that it is the same distance across. We have a slightly longer piece here. We're going to cut it to that 4-inch. And now we can go ahead and add our sentiment so it's centered. And this we're going to bring up on dimensionals as well. I added a couple of the resin flowers right here just to fancy it up a bit. And if you want to get even fancier, you can take and add some brads or metallic dots. So these are rustic metallic adhesive bag dots. And you could add them to these wheels, the wheel centers. Very fun. And then of course you could stamp another sentiment or an image on the inside of your card, but that is another card that I just created with alternates, yay. All right, we're gonna grab another piece of the blue here. And this time we're gonna score in this direction first. So at 4 1/4 inches, we're going to rotate it this way and we're going to cut at 5 1/2. That leaves us with 2 pieces that look like this. We also need to, of course, cut some basic white for the inside of the card. But let me bring in that other pink kit card base piece that looked like this, and we're going to flip it over and we're going to use the white side. We're also going to bring in these pieces again. Let's put them together and let's adhere them. Actually, you know what? I almost did a boo-boo here. Let's go ahead and lay them on here the way they're going to lay. And then we can stamp our words, or word, I should say. So I'm going to carefully hover over the top of this, and I'm going to knock away the pieces I don't need. I'm going to do that carefully with, you know, only two hands. Oh, you know what? Let's make this thing stick down onto our table. That should help. And you know what we'll do? We'll go beyond. We'll just go beyond. We'll use our grid paper here, and we'll use the little cubes around the outside, the little squares. There. Now we've got it spaced evenly, and we can stamp it directly down. We will be covering up part of this hello. I'm going to tilt it slightly. There we go. It's not going to fit perfectly, but I think it should work. At least I hope so. Now we'll flip these two pieces over, put adhesive along the back side. And we just want a tiny white edge, just like we had before. And again, it does cover up part of the word, but you get the gist of it. And then this little section down here needs to have something in there. So we're going to take 3 of these tiny loaves of bread. And before we adhere it to the base of our card, we're going to take and stamp some of the flower images. Kind of peeking out on the bottom and on the top. And there's a fun little hello card. All right, the next one we're going to do with this base, we're going to use that strip that we had set aside, this cluster of berries, and our vellum piece. And we're going to stamp a sentiment on here. And my messy little grid paper was bugging me, so I changed it. I changed it to a clean one. Sorry. So we're going to adhere now our stamped sentiment onto this vellum piece, like that, so it's straight. And we have just enough room to tuck in our berries. We're going to put our berries right there. Make sure this is straight. Yeah, that looks straight. Okay, and then we're going to tuck this in like this so that our blueberry and our blueberry isn't flying up in the air. Our strawberry's more vertical, but that's okay. So now we've got that. And because this is vellum and we're adding it to the front of this card, we have to be careful where we put our adhesive. I'm going to add dimensionals because I want it to stand out a little bit more. So I want to make sure that my dimensionals are right behind where the white or opaque piece is. I don't want my adhesive to show. And then I'm going to add a little embellishment here with the resin flowers. And there we have that finished card. Put a couple berries on the inside. Okay, the next one we're going to be doing with a white card base, the cheese, and the 2 large pieces of loaves of bread. Now I'm going to show you something that appealed to me that I also saw from Ideas on the Paper Pumpkin fan club. This appealed to me. taking and cutting this so that the tops of the bread were a little bit rounder. So I know right now what I'm doing is I'm kind of taking away that white edge, but we're going to bring it back in. We're going to take the scraps from when we punched out our pieces, and we're just going to adhere, put a little adhesive towards the top of this. And you're going to have to forgive any noise that you hear on the outside. Again, we were on vacation, so we're cleaning up our yard, well, my husband is, while I am trying to get this video done. So you're going to hear some lawn tools. Okay. So yeah, we just cut around like this, and it creates that white edge again that we had cut away. Now another idea is to take and use a Cajun Craze colored marker and do the edges, but you can see that not all the edges of the bread have that Cajun Craze look, so it's quite all right if we just leave it like that. And now we have more rounded tops. You could do the same thing to the bottom if you want, but we're going to cover that up. We're going to put our cheese on like this. We got our bread sticking out, and we're going to use our piece here as our on the blue side. Now you could do it on the white side, but I think it's going to be more prominent if we have that blue color, which is actually a very, very light pale shade of Night of Navy. So now I've laid it all out the way I like it to look, and I'm going to add some adhesive here and there in conspicuous places. I'm going to put some at the end of this bread. Put this back on the inside. We're going to add some to the outer edge of the cheese. And then we're going to flip the whole thing over, and we're going to put dimensionals on the back. Now, if you want to make all the cards that I'm doing, you may have to invest in additional dimensionals if you do not have already a stash going from previous paper pumpkin kits. Remember, you can use the outside edges of your dimensionals too. You can take and cut between them, and here you have another dimensional. In fact, let's use that one right here. Now, before I tack it down, we do have another image that I want to stamp. So I brought in my messy grid paper again and this cluster of flowers, and I've stamped it. I'm going to stamp it off onto my paper, and then I'm going to position it and pull away and stamp it down. And now I can have little clusters of flowers. Looks like I need to do another one right there. And I'm only inking up a portion of it because I know it's a super long stamp, and I don't want it to get in the bottom portion here. There we go. I have another one that is almost done, so I'm going to whip this one together. I have a bunch of flowers on this one. And with some of those flower embellishments, here are my finished cards. So sweet. Now, the unique thing about these 8 cards that I just made for you is that I only used up 1/3 of the kit. The supplies to make 3 of those cards made all 8 of these, and this kit comes with extra pieces. So I could literally triple the cards in the kit if I took and did all these 8 cards 2 more times, plus I could get 3 more cards from these pieces here, which I'm sure I could do. So amazing. You can triple the cards in your paper pumpkin kit just by adding some extra cardstock, the Night of Navy cardstock, the basic white cardstock, the base Night of Navy ink, the resin flowers for the embellishments, and of course the tools. And then you'll want to add some envelopes. So you'll want to get a pack of the basic white envelopes. I didn't use any of the envelopes for my alternate cards. So you still have 3 to use with these, and then you would just need 5 or 6 more depending on if you're going to make cards with these extra pieces here. So yes, very fun. So I've added in my extra 5 envelopes, my medium size envelopes. I've got my 8 cards, my 8 envelopes. And don't forget that you have a mini shopping bag that comes in your box. You get one of them, but you can purchase more from the online store if you are an active subscriber. By active, I mean that you have to have your Paper Pumpkin kit active. It can't be in canceled or suspended status. And look at that, it just fits those 8, probably could fit 9 cards in there. So if you wanted to take and make 2 more sets, you could give these away as gifts. And I just added an extra little tag. Remember, we had all those extra pieces. I just stamped it with thinking of you and tied it on there like that on the handle. You can stamp on the bags if you'd like to as well. Fun, so fun. Now that you've watched my video, I hope you can see that there is so much more to these kits than meets the eye. With just a few extra supplies and some imagination, you can go beyond and make so much more. Want to give these Paper Pumpkin kits a try? They're just $23.50 plus tax per month in the US. Shipping is included. You control which months you get your kits, and there's no commitment or obligation. And by clicking on my personalized link below and starting your subscription with me as your demonstrator, you'll have access to my exclusive Paper Pumpkin project ideas too. Next month's kit is titled Sending Good Thoughts, and here's a peek or a hint at what you'll be getting in that kit. Make sure that you have an active subscription by July 10th. Thank you for watching. It builds creativity to think outside the box. To access Paper Pumpkin ideas that I'll share in the future, be sure that you're subscribed to my YouTube channel and my website, because I share even more each month in other special blog posts. In fact, click on my website link below so you can access the visual supply list and view close-up photos of all that I've shared today. I hope you enjoyed this video tutorial. Now I'd like you all to go and stamp your art out. Bye-bye.